welcome back to another episode on Proven Power Cycles. There's Lewis. I'm Eric. Daryl's over there. Hi, Daryl! So, we got a little bit going on today. We've officially finished the ZX14R. Yesterday we finished this thing. So we, honestly, she's ready to be picked up. Made very good power. For those of you who watch our channel, please be on the lookout for the video on this one. This is like our, quote unquote, like our super stock build, if you will. There's a little bit more things that can be done to this bike, but remember, it's a brand new bike and it's got, I think I racked up like 10 miles on it now, 20 miles. Let's see. Hey, 24 miles.
Just the dyno.
Yeah. That's all dyno miles, yeah. Literally, it came in with 1 mile on it. Jeez, think about that. It came in with 1 mile on it, and we put 23 miles on the dyno. Pretty wild. This is the Busa. We are actually gonna get this thing on the dyno today, and for those of you who've been following along, we did the, you can't even see it. It's pretty trick, I'm not gonna lie, but this thing has a whole external fuel system on it, and you can't even see it in here. So here are, there's one of the lines, and then here's some of the wiring here. We actually sheathed the wiring and then we ran it through the tail section here. So we'll go up underneath here. Now, we still need to do a little bit of cleanup on this, but you get the idea. This wire, we're gonna have it held up here. This is the ground wire for the pump, but we're gonna run it up into here, kind of get it zip tied up, if you will, get it held up, kind of clean that up. But all in all, this is the routing on the fuel pump. And then it's pretty trick all up underneath here. So we made it completely serviceable. So basically, as you can see here, when you pull the lines up, you can have access to it right here. So you'll be able to pull these lines. We also have a quick disconnect over here on the OEM fuel rail. And our regulator is placed over here in the corner, off to the side there. But pretty crazy, definitely looks pretty wild, but this is all methanol, ethanol compatible, race gas compatible. The pump that we selected is, put it this way, if we really wanted to, we could produce, fueling wise, we could probably produce about 500 horsepower to 600 horsepower range on this setup currently. So if they wanted to go up from there, I would say about 500 horsepower. So if they wanted to go up from there, all we'd really need to do is just change out the lines, but the fuel pump and the fuel system is capable of holding basically about that much. So this kickstand's really, the bike sits a little straight up. So to be honest with you, we just put this down there for added protection to make sure that we didn't tip the bike over while we were working on it. So honestly, this was just more or less a little stop. But beautiful, beautiful bike. They did a killer job. They got the bike painted, not us. They ended up getting this painted, and they did a couple little things, but beautiful work. And a little side note here for you guys, for those of you who kind of care, I thought this was really cool. But even these, if you guys know Busas, these come textured from the factory. These are all texturized. They're real rough. These are the OEM panels here. Look at that one. These are the OEM panels that what they did was they sanded them all down, they smoothed them all out, and then they sprayed them gloss black. So a lot of work went into this bike, and it's beautiful. It's really showing, and for those of you who really know Busas, you can kind of see some of the work. So she's waiting on the rear tire, or the rear wheel. They got a BST on the way. They had to have it basically custom made because BST doesn't make the I think they're the Rapid Techs, if I'm not mistaken, is the model. But they don't make these for the Gen 1 Busa anymore. So she had to order it from BST. For the big update that we are wanting to give you guys is the LSR bike. So ZX14R, short wheelbase. Now it is stretched. This is a DME swing arm, but it's not a very long stretch. He's maybe about 4 inches over stock right now, 5 inches over stock. But if you can see here, we purchased the Maxx ECU. This came out from Chris over at Boomstoon HQ in Texas. So right now what we're doing is we're kind of playing around with the layout of it all. We're making little adjustments to kind of getting this all to fit correctly. But here's the harness and here's what we're working with. So all these plugs got to go somewhere. These are all purpose built. So this was a custom made harness for this bike in particular for the setup that we're running. So this is a fully built motor. Now this is from SRW. For those of you guys who are unfamiliar with SRW, they're the ones that built Melania. the world's fastest Gixxer right now, the no-bar bike that Chris Moore rides. So he just broke into the 5s not too long ago. They're the ones that put this motor together. So we're really, really excited. So we're gonna get that on there. We're gonna get this turbo kit back on there too. We have a turbo that is being upgraded. We got a larger size actually. So we got a larger size turbo that's gonna be going in here. The initial goal on this thing, we're gonna be running on a methanol fuel system, and we are going to shoot for about 4 to 450 range to start with. So anything above that, we're gonna have to take off this turbo kit and upgrade the turbo kit. So the turbo's a little too small. The layout's a little not the way we would want it. So we're gonna have to make some changes if he wants to go with more horsepower, which again, the goal is to be around the 650 range. We'll see what happens. I'm about to say, we'll see what happens, man. About 4 to 450, something like. So the turbo is technically capable of around 400. That's like that's about it. But considering that we're going to be running it on methanol, we're going to get that little added from the fueling itself. So when I was talking to Kirk, he was like, yeah, you should be anywhere in that range. He's like, so expect it to be in that range. So that's what we're hoping for. That's what we're expecting. I was about to say, but honestly, that's going to be such a huge jump. I mean, dude, this thing was making only 240, 230, I think. Yeah, it's something like, or 230, I think was what we made, which isn't that much, honestly. So from doubling that one. Yeah, from 230 to 400 even, that's a massive jump at a short wheelbase. So, yeah. And we're gonna set this up. We're gonna do a little tinkering, all right? So a lot of this stuff is testing. So we're gonna test to see if boost by gear works good, boost by speed, boost by like time. You can ramp it in on time. So I know on a lot of drag racing, we'll come in on time or by gear. So it just all depends. So we're gonna kind of play with it and see what works best. And obviously he's gonna have to get used to this setup. But once we kind of get that figured out, once we kind of start laying that out, it's gonna be a process, guys. This isn't something that you flip a switch and you're like, all right, it's done, see you later. This is gonna be something that you try a method and you're like, all right, that didn't really work. Let's try something else. That's what it looks like. Yeah, on YouTube, they had it figured out in 10 minutes. Today's goal, we're gonna get the motor up in the frame and we're gonna get some of these wires figured out. So we're gonna be in contact with Chris. Sorry, Chris, we love you, buddy. We're gonna bug you. I know this owner really wants to make some more land speed events this year, and we're determined to get this off to him so that he can get the bike and enjoy some land speed events with this thing. But we also wanna do it right. Oh, look at that. Look at that. The man, the myth, the legend just showed up. Let's see if we can zoom in on it. We're actually here with our YouTube editor, Seth. So Seth has an Indian Challenger dark horse, and it's a 2023, right? Yep. So it's a 2023 dark horse, and now again, we're human. So with that being said, we thought that we could tune these. And based on the programming and all that jazz, all the 2023s for the most part, like 90% of the Indians, the 2023 models, we already have the ability to tune those. But it turns out the new Challenger, we don't have that ability yet. So Seth has done a full exhaust now?
Yeah, well, it's got the cat delete and then it's got a slip on.
Okay, so he has a cat delete already. So the bike is basically ready to be tuned since that cat's all out of there. But again, something that we learned today, that we don't have access to this, and a lot of other people don't either, guys. If you guys look into the Lloydz, who else is out there again? I saw like Hooney or something like that.
It might be. I know Lloydz is just the big one.
Lloydz is the big one. There's a couple of them out there, and if you look at a lot of those guys, they're not offering it either. So we thought that we could do these, but it turns out we can't. It's up to 2022, and this is a 2023. So again, it's just that one, you think within 1 year, you're like, oh no, we're good, we can do it. Well, it turns out we can't. So with that being said though, the good news is that nobody can do it. So the kicker is that once they become available, which we don't know the timeline on it. We weren't told the timeline, and we've also asked around. Nobody really knows the timeline as far as when they're gonna come out. But as far as that goes, it sounds like it's gonna be soon with all that being said. So we're just gonna, honestly, this is one of those things where we're just gonna have to impatiently wait, and until they release something where we're all kind of at a standstill. And that's basically everybody nationwide. It doesn't matter. There's not a lot of companies out there that are providing the actual support to tune these things. So You guys just have to be patient, but when it comes out, just know that we are going to be one of the first companies that's going to be tuning one of these. So
100%.
yeah, so keep an eye on that. And but when that comes out, we're very excited. I know we got a lot of Indian Scout, what are they called, requests, because we've tuned a few of these now. So Indian Scouts, a lot of requests on that, but as far as the Indian Challengers, we're not there yet. But once these come out, I can almost promise you guys the demand's going to be there. So once it comes out, we'll let you guys know. But yeah,
I'm excited for it.
I know. I felt so. We felt so bad, and even Seth was at the dealership where they're a certified. What is it? The authorized remote tuning centers or something for Lloydz, and even they were like, "Hey, yeah, sorry, yeah, we can't do it." They told him originally they could do it, that Lloydz could do it, but that was before they did a little bit of digging. Just like same thing with us, and come to find out, it's not offered yet. So we're all kind of at a standstill. But these things do happen, not often. But it happens. So this is just all part of the game. And sometimes we gotta wait, even though we don't want to. Sometimes we gotta wait a little bit. So we got the Busa on the dyno. For those of you who've been following along, this one got the full external fuel system, that we had to custom build. And we're gonna see what it does. It's been running super lean. After getting a little bit more of the background story on this bike, they have literally not been able to make a clean pass since the motor got all redone because they've been chasing this fueling issue. So now granted, they've also been tackling some other projects along with the fueling issue while they were fixing that fueling issue. So we're gonna get ready to warm it up. Hopefully this fueling issue is resolved with this full aftermarket fuel pump kit, which I'm pretty confident it is. So pick up the new Turbonetic turbo for the land speed bike right now. I'm on my way to Boost Lab, so we should be there soon. We got about another 5 minutes or so, and yeah, we're gonna scoop up this turbo and see what it looks like. Really curious to see. Now on the new exhaust housing, there are studs. So a lot of times people will use bolts to bolt in the downpipe onto the exhaust housing on the turbo. And with that being said, a lot of times, from you turbo guys, you've experienced this, the bolts get basically seized up in there because of all the heat. You could use grade 8 stainless, you could use whatever. Honestly, we've used a bunch of different variations of bolts. I've even seen some shops use just regular mild steel bolts, and a lot of the times those bolts get seized up inside that exhaust housing because of all the heat cycles that the turbo goes through. So there is this not new, but there is a product that Kirk was telling us about. Basically what it is it's a hardened stud, and kind of like an exhaust stud. There's these nuts that go on the studs, and basically they lock in. They're not, I don't want to say they're a single time use, but they're like these locking nuts. So, but they are kind of like, you can only use them a couple of times, and then that's really it. And then you have to toss them and get new ones because they do kind of wear out the more you use them. So but they're great. All in all, they're great quality. This is what Kirk's like. I highly recommend it. So for all you turbo guys out there, I'll show you guys the nut. We'll talk about it a little bit, the stud and the nut, when I get there. We are at Boost Lab. Kirk actually just walked out. But here are the turbos. This is the upgraded turbo. So old Rusty, new hotness. Old Rusty, new hotness. We went over to Boost Lab, talked to Kirk and them, and scooped up a new toy here. So this thing is beautiful. Now I'll have to get the specs for you guys. We talked, and honestly, it was a lot of information. So I'm gonna go back and we're gonna review everything. But this is overall, as you can clearly tell, it's an overall larger turbo, but utilizing the same style framing, meaning that the as far as the compressor, or as far as the drain goes, the feed goes, as far as all the flanges go, inducer, exducers, all of that is the same. But this is just a slightly larger internal and guts and a slightly larger compressor housing. So I want to say the exhaust housing was the same. What's that?
Slightly?
Yeah, it is much bigger. Considering where we're throwing it in a bike. It is, yeah, I think he said 4mm. Again, we will get the specs. I'm gonna get the specs for you guys, but we're gonna have to utilize the same drain. We have a different feed line coming in now, or we have a different feed fitting that they supplied us, right? But we're pretty excited. They also modified this to kind of match the same setup that he had in his exhaust housing. This is a different hole, so he took this and put it on the lathe actually, and got a bigger hole for us here, so that we could kind of utilize the same type of setup that he already had, which was badass. Yeah, so right here. So if you guys notice, so these studs, by the way, are these nuts? These are like a one-time use. Yeah. So when we go to mock it up, we're gonna utilize, it's an M8 by 125 nut, we have that. So, but these are the studs. So these studs right here, this is what they recommended were this new kind of style. Normally we bolt these in the bike world. There's just a bolt that we threw in there, like a stainless or a grade 8, but for you turbo guys, you know, a lot of times it's a mother lover trying to get these back out. You could break the bolts, snap them, all kinds of damage that you could do, or they just seize up in there. It's a nightmare to fight with it. So he was highly recommending these. They're heat resistant, and they're locking nuts, but they're basically like a one-time use. So once you kind of get them torqued on, that's basically it, you know. And if you take it back off, you got to replace the nuts more or less. So he threw us some new gaskets. We got a new exhaust gasket over there, and a new exhaust gasket. And I think, so this 5-bolt gasket on the back here, he didn't have in stock, but he said they're gonna get those in stock here soon. So whenever I go to pick up the other turbo, he'll have those. We did get the new Injector Dynamics injectors. These are 2600cc injectors. They're pretty damn big, and the reason being is because we're going to be running the methanol fuel, so it's alcohol. This thing is going to be drinking the fuel when it goes down the track. So we got some large injectors. So now between the pump and injectors, he'll be capable to run about 700 to 800 horsepower out of this motor. So we're trying to get everything hooked up, guys. We're making progress. We labeled everything. We're getting there. We are getting there. So we have pressure sensors. So right now we opted to have 2 pressure sensors. One's going to be, or no, do we have 3? Yeah, we have 3 pressure. I'm sorry. We have 3 pressure sensors. So we have oil, fuel, and then we're going to have the wastegate. So for boost, oil, and fuel. And as I was talking to Kirk, what we may do later on too, depending on our inputs and depending on all of the inputs from the Maxx ECU, we're gonna see if we can add another one after talking to Kirk, so we can start measuring our back pressure on the turbos. Again, more data, the better it is, so that way we can get this stuff figured out and we can get them down the track faster. You wanna measure your back pressure on these turbos, he was saying, so that we can, again, better utilize the turbo kit, understand where the little drawbacks are and where we could increase horsepower by making some little changes to the turbo. So that's the big update on that bike. But like I said, we were gonna have major updates for you guys this week. This thing is it's like a water hose compared to OEM style injector. Well, this is their new bad boy. This is the new line that they're super proud of. Yeah.
Kind of want to hook it up to see how much flow.
Yeah. Oh, it'll flow. Don't worry. That thing will be.
It'll flow.
So this one's gonna get its full video. This, believe it or not, this is an 06 dyno. I mean, it ain't the newest thing in the fleet, but man, this thing is super clean. We were pretty surprised when they showed up to drop this bike off. It was definitely was not expecting this. So this is more of a stunt style setup. As you can see here, they got some of these crash bars. They have some of these up here for obviously doing wheelies. Huh? Yeah, the Sparky. Yeah, they got this Scrape City this spark bar in the back. This is a pretty wicked bike. So this is a Bassani 2-to-1 exhaust. I know Bassani, good product, good exhaust system. This thing should make some damn good power, honestly, considering the setup that it is and the age that it is. But I'm really excited to tune it. This thing is fucking sharp. I know there's gonna be some people out there, you guys are gonna hate on this thing, but I think it's different. I like different. I don't know, it's like I said, man, it's all different.
It has LEDs built in.
LEDs all in the tag cover. Yeah, see, that's pretty wicked, man. It's like the little subtle touches. So you got a couple little scrapes, but all in all, this thing's in pretty good condition. It's in really good condition. All right, guys. Well, we're gonna cut it here. We're gonna get this bad boy on the dyno. It's gonna take a little while to get it all tuned, so I'm gonna throw it on the dyno real quick, and we're gonna make a video on that. So stay tuned. If you guys are keeping up with our channel, stay tuned. We're gonna be posting this video after we tune this one. This will be pretty dope. So stay tuned for this video.